WeChat's desire for the improvement of its ESG and its objective of value for users, tech for good, has led it to consider its potential for positive impact on small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs within China. Today, our team, Nick, Charlotte, Angus, and myself, have narrowed the scope and have asked, how can WeChat reform its payment system to increase and retain the SMEs it serves? To do this, we'll be tracing the journey of Ms. Liu, an SME merchant running a local Chinese apparel store. Let's get to know her a little better. Ms. Liu is instilled with traditional Confucian values of family, benevolence, and righteousness. Moreover, residing in a post-communist China, she's increasingly influenced by Western capitalist thoughts surrounding individualism and success. She is therefore imbued with an entrepreneurial spirit to lift up herself and her community, a spirit that WeChat can and should assist. Nevertheless, Ms. Liu herself faces challenges to achieve her vision. A 45-year-old woman lacking a formal tertiary education, she has a low IT literacy and knowledge. Also, running a small store, she receives a modest income and is therefore very conscious of the money she spends. As I'm sure you could guess, Ms. Liu represents a typical SME merchant WeChat can serve, and solving her issues solves issues for the wider SME community. Currently, Ms. Liu undergoes a series of steps to get set up and use WeChat Pay. Steps that challenge her vision and steps that are misaligned with her as a customer. Initially, Ms. Liu creates a commercial WeChat account, navigating a rather complex sign-up process, requiring resources she may not have. Once she has done this, she navigates WeChat Pay's payment features, but is put off by its inaccessibility and its assumption of IT knowledge she may not have. Let's assume she is able to set up a payment system in her store. This system gives Ms. Liu little control over the payments being made, as the customers themselves input the payment. Lastly, after a hard day's work, Ms. Liu spends hours counting and consolidating her earnings to prepare her reports. This overall experience limits WeChat's potential for SMEs all around China. We've broken down this experience into 4 key issues that our strategies simplify, streamline, synthesize, and summarize each solve. Firstly, Ms. Liu faces a difficult sign-up process. She is asked to submit documents, including her business license, and then she has to register and verify her bank details with WeChat. Only then can she pass the mandatory Know Your Customer check that WeChat must perform on each and every customer. This process can take 2 to 3 days. Furthermore, it requires the use of a personal laptop. Ms. Liu is a busy woman, managing a business and a family, and this is valuable time she doesn't get back. Also, being money conscious, she may only have limited access to a computer. Secondly, and more simply, the app features can be difficult to use for users with low IT literacy. These features, such as the different payment options, are inherently somewhat complex, and therefore the app should be simplified, but more importantly, users need to be educated. The third and largest issue we've uncovered is Ms. Liu's lack of control over the payment process. To set up in-store face-to-face payments, she must print a QR code from WeChat's app and set it on the counter. To get a lasting good quality QR code, she needs to pay 100 renminbi, which might be costly for her. Next, the customer then scans the QR code and inputs the payment amount themselves. They could accidentally pay the wrong amount, and it is Ms. Liu's job to correct the mistake. Indeed, to help her do this, the app provides voice transaction confirmations, but this requires her to be with her phone at all times during the working day and greatly limits her flexibility. Ultimately, Ms. Liu constantly frets over the payments at her store. And lastly, Ms. Liu spends hours preparing daily financial statements, and we see an opportunity for WeChat to make this just a little bit easier. Currently, Ms. Liu manually checks through her transaction history, totals the quantities of each unit sold, records their prices, and then takes stock. This is a time-consuming process for a woman who values her time. And WeChat has the opportunity to automate some of these functions. I will now pass over to Nick, who will detail our simplify and streamline strategies.
Thank you, Caleb, for exploring the insights. In addressing WeChat Pay's issues, especially with a long 2 to 3 day setup process, it is clear that WeChat Pay needs to be simplified. In addressing the complex and timely setup process, WeChat Pay must increase the ease of use of their platform to encourage more users and a greater user experience. As a result, it is vital that all processes take place within the WeChat app. Without the needs for personal computers, the barriers to entry for SMEs will be greatly reduced. A more simple walkthrough will take place through the mobile app and support SMEs in verification and setup. This all in-app experience will allow SME owners such as Ms. Liu to apply for WeChat Pay from the comfort of their own mobile device. As can be seen in the figure, a scanning feature will be implemented to upload files such as business documents, which will expedite the 2 to 3 day waiting times due to a greater ease of upload. Bank accounts will be linked through the app using instant transfer verification, which will ensure security whilst ensuring SMEs can use WeChat Pay as soon as possible to support their business. Through this setup process, no personal computer will be required, and guided voice cues in a range of languages will ensure clarity and efficiency in setup. As a local business owner who is desperate to set up and secure payments as soon as possible, Ms. Liu's complex setup process will be no more. By simplifying the experience of setting up a WeChat Pay account, Ms. Liu will no longer have a complex and tiresome setup process. Instead, it will be intuitive, simple, and easy. WeChat Pay is currently too complex, with 45.3% of silent merchants not understanding how to use WeChat Pay. As a result, it is clear there is a need to streamline education into the WeChat Pay system. This clear lack of IT literacy amongst SME business owners will be addressed. By seamlessly implementing educational videos, guides, and quizzes into WeChat Pay, it is ensured that SME owners will make conscious decisions and are capable of using WeChat Pay's features. Firstly, there will be an optional quiz when setting up a WeChat Pay account, which tests the SME's owner's ability to use the app's features, such as completing transactions and filing cash flows. Those SME owners who lack IT literacy confidence can freely access this quiz. Secondly, based on the quiz results, there will be educational videos, guides, and articles recommended based on their weaknesses to build the SME owner's confidence. Thirdly, as seen in the figure, videos based on all common issues and questions will be provided in the help section of WeChat Pay. This will allow SME owners to seek clarification independently, which decreases the burden on WeChat Pay's call centers and will ensure SME owners are retained as WeChat Pay users. As a result, after streamlining education into the setup process, Ms. Liu will have increased IT literacy. She will be able to confidently and easily use WeChat Pay. This will ensure that Ms. Liu understands all available features and most efficiently manages her business. I will now pass it on to Charlotte for the next phases of our strategy.
Thanks, Nick. The next part of our strategy for WeChat Pay consists of synthesizing the payment process. As outlined in our Insights section, merchants currently lack control over the payment process. This is because customers are the ones who input the price, creating the possibility that merchants are paid the incorrect amount and leading to all sorts of workarounds to overcome this issue, none of which are perfect. But under our strategy, which consists of redesigning the WeChat Pay process, merchants will be the ones who select the products and price that the customer will have to pay. Merchants will then scan the customer's personal WeChat payment code to take the payment from the customer's bank account. How will this work exactly? Well, when selling to a customer, the merchant will select the products that the customer wants to buy. These products that the store offers and their prices will have been entered previously by the merchant and will be saved within the app. After selecting the products, WeChat Pay will calculate the total amount for the transaction. The merchant will confirm this amount and then scan the customer's personal WeChat payment code to take the payment from the customer's account. This process is shown in the phone mockup on the right of the slide, where the merchant is using their phone's camera to scan a customer's phone, which has the customer's personal payment QR code on it. After the transaction has gone through, the customer then receives a notification containing the transaction details as a receipt. This process is similar to the quick pay payment process, but instead of scanning the customer's payment code with a handheld QR scanner, they simply scan it with their phone. Although the quick pay process was trialed for SMEs, it was rejected as they found the handheld scanner and communications fee too expensive. However, under our strategy, their phone will be used for this purpose, so high costs will not be an issue. We will now look at our updated customer journey. Instead of having minimal control over the payment process, Ms. Liu now facilitates customer payments herself, giving her much more control as she is now the one who enters the price. The final part of our strategy for WeChat Pay consists of summarizing business activity. We believe that this is an easy way that WeChat Pay can add value and assist the merchants who use the app. Currently, merchants spend their time manually going through transactions from the day and preparing financial reports, which is a very time-consuming process. Under our strategy, WeChat Pay will automatically summarize the merchant's daily products and revenue so that the merchants don't have to. How will this idea be implemented? WeChat Pay will go through the transactions for that day and extract information about the price and products sold. This information will then be displayed in a daily summary tab, which will be laid out as shown in the phone on the right. WeChat Pay will also calculate and display the daily revenue. Using this daily summary tab, it will be much easier for merchants to prepare financial reports as well as obtain a general understanding of their business activity for that day. We will now look at our final customer journey. Instead of Ms. Liu spending hours each night summarizing her daily earnings, WeChat Pay now does this automatically for her. This efficient process will give Ms. Liu more time to spend on other things that matter to her, like taking care of her daughter. I will now pass on to my team member Angus to talk about the impacts of our strategies.
Thank you, Charlotte. Let's now have a look at how our strategies will be implemented, as well as the financials and market conditions to show the impacts that our strategies will have not only on WeChat Pay, but also Ms. Liu's experience as a smaller sized merchant. To really make an impact and to be certain that it is catering to the needs of SMEs, WeChat should first extend their market research into this group. By further clarifying the needs of this segment, WeChat can gain a better understanding of the nuances needed for their strategies. After this, WeChat can begin the technology development. The creation of an adapted payment system will require time and resources to make a product that is the right fit for SMEs. Following on, WeChat must first trial their new payment system with a smaller group of SMEs. This will not only mitigate the risk of potential backlash, but will also enable WeChat to gauge the feedback and make adjustments to their product according to the needs of their market. Following from the trial release, WeChat will release their adjusted new payment system to the greater public. This will be advertised through WeChat, including a notification to current SMEs suggesting the switch to the platform. This will also be marketed through existing advertising platforms of WeChat. Finally, after gauging the response from the greater market of SMEs, WeChat can make the decision whether to phase out the current customer-oriented QR code payment. Now we will look at the conditions that make our strategies needed and feasible. In China, of all the companies, over 90% are SMEs. They represent 80% of the job opportunities, 60% of China's GDP, and 50% of its tax revenue. Furthermore, the number of small businesses, the main target segment for this new payment system, increased to 28.93 million in 2021, a nearly 30% increase from the year before. Couple this with consistently strong WeChat and WeChat Pay user growth, with the amount of people using WeChat Pay growing to over 900 million, as well as the fact that the Chinese government has shown that it will support SMEs. It is clear to see that there is a great opportunity for WeChat with regards to SMEs now and in the future. In order to provide value for users, tech for good, and capitalize on this opportunity, WeChat must invest in itself and incur additional expenditure. This expenditure includes costs for software development and marketing, as well as customer service and know your customer verification to cater to the increasing customer base of SMEs. These costs will steadily grow over the lifetime of this new payment system as the user base grows. Today we asked, how can WeChat reform its payment system to increase and retain SMEs in its customer base? Our response is the creation of a new payment system with features that cater to the needs of SMEs and makes it easier for them to use. With the implementation of our strategies, Miss Lu can now have an experience with WeChat Pay that aligns to her wants and needs from a payment system. She, like so many other businesses all around China, will be able to be confident in her business and optimistic about her future. The strategies we have outlined today will not only fuel the growth of WeChat's payment platform and have a positive impact on ESG, but will also allow WeChat to fulfill their objective of providing value for users and tech for good. Thank you. This is the end of our presentation, and we'll now open the floor to any questions.
Hey, thank you, team. Very well organized presentation. Thanks for that. My question is more around the implementation of your strategy. Have you thought about the sort of dependencies, any potential risk issues which you would encounter during the implementation of this strategy?
Sure. If Caleb could just go to the risk mitigation slide in the appendix. Thank you for the question. We have considered two main risks involving that would impact our strategy the most, which would be users preferring the QR code payment and merchants also struggling to use the new features. We've mitigated the second risk here of struggling to use the new features by really emphasizing education on our platform. We want to make it easy so that these new smaller merchants will be able to use our platform and enjoy the platform. And that also follows into our first risk that we mentioned of them preferring the QR code payment. By making the platform as easy to use and as basic to these small and medium-sized merchants, we can make sure that our system has a really positive reception.
So can I just double click on it? So in essence, what Subin is asking is, the amount of investment that you're asking for is quite large, right? 100 million plus year on year. So the question is, have you thought about what are the sequence of investments that is needed because there's a lot of interdependencies behind the scenes, right? Between or are you guys thinking, we're just going to do market research, we're going to incubate, spend $200 or $300 million a year, then do a big bang release, right? So in effect, that's the question. Have you thought about that in terms of
Sure.
how do you get incremental return on investment while we're making this strategic platform change?
Sure. So one of the issues that we found is that at the moment, WeChat Pay has struggled to get into the SMEs for their payment option. So through what you mentioned before, the market research and the trial periods, we really do want to have what you called a banger release. So using the market research and our trials and making adjustments to the platform as we see the results of those things come in, we can make sure that our new payment system really caters to the needs of these SMEs, because targeting this segment, which is such a large segment, making up 60% of China's GDP, would really be beneficial to WeChat Pay.
The other question I have, while I've got the mic here, is you've just mentioned ESG right at the end. Have you thought about how do you leverage ESG or the ESG dimensions in terms of the implementation of this strategy?
Sure. Thank you for the question again. So the ESG aspect that we're considering while making this presentation and with our strategies was helping these smaller merchants. The person that we chose for our customer journey, Miss Lu, is a smaller merchant with not a whole lot of income coming in and needs a way to access that 900 million base of people that use WeChat Pay. So by allowing the SMEs to have an easier access to this payment system and making it very easy for them to use, we have the social benefit of these smaller companies and medium-sized companies being able to use this payment system and have more confidence in their business and their payments.
Enough? Oh,
thanks. It's a very good presentation, by the way, and you did cover this specific question, which you narrowed down in terms of your business problem statement. But how does the solution of improving the SME's underlying business model and its margins and profits get addressed by the strategy that you provided here? It seems as if by improving the ease of using the WeChat payment option and solving for it technically and also through merchant education, it largely benefits the WeChat's profitability, doesn't help the merchants in improving their business model other than ease of the operations of using the WeChat account. I think that was a key point that we're trying to look for, is that the ESG responsibility of the company here is more towards helping the SME segments grow and improve their business model rather than only using their own chats, or only own apps.
That's a great question. I'll answer this one. So what we initially came up with was that the biggest value that WeChat Pay can add to these customers is the payment system. And so we thought, is the payment system combined with their chat systems. So WeChat can currently, as a business, you can advertise on the platform, and you can use it in lots of different ways. And we've decided that the WeChat Pay feature is the one that has the most issues and is the biggest block to merchants really using the app for all of their business needs. And we thought that solving that payment system is what would add the most value for these merchant customers. So in analyzing our 4 key issues and just solving each of those steps, we believe that this is the biggest value that WeChat and especially WeChat Pay can add to the merchants, rather than trying to teach merchants how to reform or change their business models.
And I do acknowledge that you all did mention the first slide that your problem statement is very, very specific, which I really appreciate. So I think we'll leave you on that. My second follow-up question is, how have you focused upon how difficult it might be to change the consumer behavior who has been so far used to themselves deciding what amount to pay to now suddenly the merchant deciding what amount to charge? And that's a big fundamental shift in the market, which is the totally consumer-driven market.
Sure. Thank you for the question there. One of the main payment systems currently in the WeChat Pay system is the QR code pay. And the system that we are showing you today is actually very similar. The only difference is instead of the merchant having a scanner and a POS system of their own, they can use it all within the app and through their own phone, making it easier and cheaper for the merchant while still being a similar system to what is already in place.
Right, thanks. Maybe just one last follow from my side. Have you considered what exactly would be the response of the competition, and what impact and effect does the competitive landscape, i.e. particularly Alipay, and what would they do in this situation have on your strategy?
Thank you for your question. So we've considered the competitive landscape in the sense that the competitors would likely make their own adjustments following WeChat Pay's changes. But we believe as the first mover in this area, WeChat Pay will have a competitive advantage and will be able to outperform its competitors. But above all, we care about the ESG of the SMEs. And we think that by being the first payment system to offer this, we will be able to get the most SMEs to join our service and in turn improve the ESG landscape.
Thanks.
Any additional questions from the judges?
I've got one question, just quickly. In terms of, while you've got you on this slide on risk and mitigants, have you thought about the privacy dimensions and the risk and the controls associated with it, and how to address that? In terms of enhanced data privacy requirements, there are security laws in China and around the world.
Yeah. Well, you can go, Caleb. It's okay.
Yeah, so thank you for your question. We have considered the privacy elements. So WeChat already has systems in place to be in line with the Chinese laws. So those systems which are already in place will be streamlined across our strategy. For example, the scanning of business documents to be uploaded for verification, that will be all secured within WeChat's databases and follow similar processes which WeChat has already put in place. So there isn't any major changes needed in that aspect.
But you got to think through the dimensions of the actual customer, right? So from a customer consent perspective, if you're just uploading, so have you thought about that dimension as well?
In terms, oh, you go.
In terms of customers of the merchants, right? Customer consent, those dimensions.
Yes. So thanks for the question. We are aware that China has quite strict customer consent laws, which state that companies need user consent to collect sensitive personal data. However, in our strategy, they're not really collecting any data. All they really do is scan the customer's personal QR code, and then the transaction only contains information about the product and the price of the product. So yeah, we don't think that this is a consideration for our strategy, as we're not actually collecting any of this sensitive personal data.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So thank you all. The judges will now stay in the room to deliberate, and their team will place you in the waiting room and bring you back in for the feedback section in a few minutes. So everyone else, please kindly leave the room, and we will see you later for the results announcement. Thank you.